Welcome back to the Ben Eddy YouTube channel. Tonight we are going to be discussing and picking the 10 greatest players we've seen play for Liverpool. I am joined by Liam on Football. He's been on the channel before. Hopefully you recognise him. If you don't, make sure you go and follow his channel. He does some really good stuff. I've got to say that. He's sat right here. So, by the way, right, so we're going to kick tonight off, Liam. The 10 greatest players you've seen play for Liverpool. I think it's important to start with. Just tell me through the time period which you're judging this from within. It's going to be slightly different to mine. But go on, over to you.
Yeah, of course, mate. Like you say, you are a slight bit older than me, so you will have seen a lot more Liverpool games in your time than me, a lot more players. I was born in 2002, so we're probably looking at about 2010 onwards was when I really started taking real notice of Liverpool. Like I watched them before that, obviously, but you're not really understanding what's going on the pitch at like 5, 6 years older. So I'm going from about 2010 onwards to present day.
No, good stuff. And I'm 2000 onwards, so like you said, it does give me a slightly larger pool of players. So don't be surprised when some of Liam's lists is not quite as strong as mine because I've got more players to pick from. A little plug for myself there. Right, okay, Liam, let's get into it. And I think, again, important to say, a very subjective one. When we say the greatest players that have played for Liverpool in your lifetime, of course, greatness can be defined in different ways. Club legacy, how good they were in terms of their peak, etc., etc. Very subjective one. Over to you, number 10 on your list. Let's go.
Number 10 on my list, mate, is someone who doesn't have the trophies. I think when you're talking about greatness, like you say, it's a different word to best, isn't it? I think greatness, I consider longevity, I consider trophies. They're probably my two biggest ones. Obviously, impact of the club during their time. I think the player that I've got in 10th is probably the only player on this list that doesn't have the trophies, doesn't have the longevity, but because of how good of a player he is and was for Liverpool in the short time that we saw him, probably the best player that I've seen play for Liverpool, I've got Luis Suarez in 10th, mate. I think it's probably, like I say, if you're going off the best players you've seen, I think he's definitely been a lot of people's top three. I'd say he's first for me, better than Salah, better than Mane, better than Torres, Firmino, everyone. I think Suarez, everything that he had, the goals that he scored, breaking the goal scoring record as well, didn't he? So when you're talking about his impact during the short time that he had, really good. But I do value longevity and trophies a bit higher than that, so I've got him in 10th.
Yeah, look, it's definitely lower than I've got him. I'll give you that. There's no exact science to doing this. Club legacy, longevity, their peak of their powers. There's what they won at the club, how they're remembered afterwards. There's lots of lenses in which we can look at here, and there's no exact science that's gone into the thought process. For me, my number 10 is a club legend. He has got the longevity. He's probably got 8, 9 seasons of absolute consistency. Maybe not right now or last season, but I think he was the best left back in the world for about 3 seasons. He was probably in the top 3 or 4 for about 6 seasons, which makes him world class. He'd have got in just about any side in world football. And yes, he's a left back, and some people might hold that against him. But Andy Robertson was absolutely Mr. Reliable. And in terms of what I've seen in my lifetime in the Premier League, I think the only left back that's been better than him for me is Ashley Cole. And on the world stage, as I said, he was world class. You know, you can only be measured against your peers in the same position.
Yeah.
I think Trent Alexander-Arnold was a better footballer, but Andy Robertson would have got in pretty much every side in the world, whereas I'm not sure if Trent would, just due to the styles. A lot of sides, as we've seen with England, 2 managers have left him out. Real Madrid don't quite fancy him. I think the styles making fights and the allowances for him. Andy Robertson, for me, is my number 10, deservedly in the list. But I would say my bottom 2 could change. I've left out some good players here. I'm set on my top 8. The bottom 2, I could wake up tomorrow and it could be very different. Liam, over to yourself, number 9.
Mate, it's a great segue because I've got Andy Robertson in 9. So pretty much the exact same points that you say. I think he was one of the players that defined how we played football under Klopp, the flying fullbacks getting forward, the amount of assists both him and Trent got. That's probably, if thinking of a Jurgen Klopp goal, a Liverpool goal under Jurgen Klopp rather, you're probably thinking Andy Robertson bombing down one side, Trent down the other side, getting crosses into the box. I think, like you say, definitely the best left back that I've ever seen in the Premier League anyway. Definitely one of the best left backs in the world, to play to such a world class consistent level over about 6 or 7 years, probably between 2018 to probably 2022. really. So maybe a 4 or 5 year period. It has dropped off slightly in the past few seasons since Slot come in, asking a bit of a different role of him. But I do think Robertson. It's weird saying Robertson is a greater Liverpool player than Luis Suarez, isn't it? But I do think because of his time, because of the trophies that he won, the impact that he's had, I've got Robertson in ninth, mate.
I'm glad to see that he's in your list. I'm glad about that. For me, I've gone with Jordan Henderson. Now, a lot of people would leave him out. And again, it depends on the time period you're judging it. I think I've probably, if I'm being honest, I've left some players that were better than him out of my top 10. However, talk about impact at the club. What captain Jordan Henderson was, I feel like what's happening at Liverpool right now in terms of current affairs, I just don't think he'd have stood for it. I think he was an absolute
Mm.
leader. I think he was an underrated player, by the way. I thought he was a good passer of the ball. I thought his busyness in terms of covering Trent Alexander-Arnold, helping him out a lot, the energy to get around the pitch, and he just made everyone around him better. And Jordan Henderson, for me, being the captain of such a successful period, absolutely integral to that. I don't think it happens without him, and deservedly on this list. And you know what? Some people would leave him out because people didn't like him or whatever, but I think there's even an argument for him to potentially be higher. The only thing, as I said, my top eight, I'm very comfortable. My top eight were always going to be in the top eight. Not necessarily in the order I've put them tonight. That could have changed, but they're always
Mm.
going to be there. Whereas 9 to 16, those last two places really were up for grabs. But Jordan Henderson has made mine in the ninth spot. Liam, over to yourself in terms of number 8. What are you thinking for that position?
Before I get on to number 8, mate, I just want to say I've got Jordan Henderson incredibly, maybe not incredibly high, but high on my list. Like you say, some people would leave him out, some people would have him higher. I'm one of those who do have him higher, but in my number 8 is actually the other fullback. I was talking about Robertson. I've got Trent in 8, and honestly, he'd probably be a lot higher in this list, in my opinion, if he hadn't have left, and especially in the way he did. I think if he was still at the club now, we're probably looking at being in around the top 5 or top 6 that I've seen, post 2010. I think the impact that he had, again, defined the way that we played under Klopp, probably even more than Robertson did because of his technical ability, the set pieces, the iconic moments, corner taken quickly against Barca, things like that. I've got Trent in number 8, mate, just above Robertson. But honestly, I didn't really want to put him in the list, but I feel like he has to make it in.
Well, I'll be honest with you, mate. Just a spoiler alert. I've left him out of mine.
Oh wow.
So, despite the fact, obviously, yeah, in terms of his footballing ability, he absolutely could be in it, but there's just not a place in there for me. And it might be controversial, but it is what it is. Alisson is my eighth choice. Now, Alisson Becker has been a world class goalkeeper from signing to the club to now. So 8-9 years of being a world class goalkeeper. And what I would say is he's probably the best goalkeeper in the world for 3 years. I would probably go for 5 or 6 years. He was in the top three. Whether you want to say it was Courtois or Oblak or Alisson, Donnarumma, he was in that bracket. He was absolutely untouchable for such a period of time. I think he's one of for me, he's probably the greatest in Premier League history. That could be some recency bias. I'd understand the Petr Cech argument. I know that you're a similar boat to that one. Schmeichel, a little bit before my time, but Alisson Becker, I know he's a goalkeeper, and some people, again, might not. It's all about the attacking players, this, that, and the other, but to be the best in your position, as exemplified by Andy Robertson making the list for that period
Mhm.
of time, and be absolutely non-negotiable world class, he has to be on the list. So that is my number 8. Who's your number 7, mate?
Mate, I'm telling you what, we're going along really nicely here because although we're in different eras, aren't we? You've seen more players than me. I've got Alisson in 7, so we're moving along nicely. Pretty much everything that you said, like you say, probably the best keeper that I've seen, maybe ever. I think you're probably looking at, in my time, Casillas, Buffon, Neuer. Neuer probably is slightly ahead of him, in my opinion. But in terms of Premier League, Alisson's definitely the best I've seen. I didn't see Schmeichel. I did see Cech. I do think I saw the back end of Cech, but that sounds weird, actually. I saw the back end of Cech's career. Um, yeah, I do think Alisson, probably the best 1v1 keeper we've seen as
Yeah.
well. He's got so every trait that you'd want in a goalkeeper, I think Alisson probably has. I think doesn't make as many flashy saves as someone like David De Gea did, but because I think his positioning was so good, he doesn't need to make these mad saves that everyone clips up, puts them in compilations. I think it's also, like you say, really difficult for a goalkeeper to be put above the attackers because the attackers are directly contributing to so many impactful moments and things like that. So I've got Alisson in 7, but honestly, he could be higher. He is a Liverpool legend, isn't he?
I think you're so right on the positioning. I've always said that he catches things that other goalkeepers are having to dive one-handed and stretch
Yeah,
to get to. The positioning's that good. Now, this is where the lists are going to start to differ, I think. Based
I
on the
can.
fact that you've put Suarez at number 10, I can't see this player's going to have made your list. And again, by the way, 2010 plus, he can't have made your list. Fernando Torres is my number 7. Now, Fernando Torres, I think for 18 months was the best striker in the world. I think he was absolutely superb for Liverpool. His Liverpool career wasn't long enough. Obviously, that's being held against him in terms of what he went on to achieve afterwards. His career went downhill from there. But in terms of his peak, he had his absolute peak at Liverpool Football Club. Yeah, he had injuries. I think for 18 months he was the best striker on the planet, and for that reason, he's made my top 10. Which, again, if you want to judge it from a Liverpool Legends point of view, there are people that are on my bench, so to speak, that should be way above him from a Liverpool perspective. If you're
Yeah.
talking about the best player, but yeah, I can't ignore that peak. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Liam, bring me on to your number 6.
Number 6, I think the top 6 now is where it gets really difficult. Like you say, your top 8 was solidified, but maybe not in the correct order. But top 6, I generally could have put probably between 6 and 3. It could have gone in any order. Someone's got to be 6th. I probably don't even agree with myself because, like I say, it could change on a different day how I'm feeling. But in 6, mate, I've got Sadio Mane.
Wow. Talk
Is
to me
that
about
low?
Mane.
Is that low?
I think so, but talk to me about Mane. I've got him better than that.
Yeah, well, Mane, he's an incredible footballer, isn't he? Definitely a Liverpool legend. Everyone in this list, probably I was going to say Trent and above. Everyone in this list is a Liverpool legend, but then Trent, you've got a little asterisk on, don't you? But yeah, Mane just so good. Again, one of the players that defined how he played under Klopp. A lot of the players that I've included, obviously, if we're going from 2010 onwards, I'm not putting players like. I don't even know. Raul Morales isn't getting in my top 10 list. You know what I mean? It's going to be I can't even speak. Major, whatever it is. It's going to be mostly Klopp players. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Mane
for sure.
Mane's so good. Go on.
You said everyone in the list will be Liverpool legends, and this might be where mine differs. I've got a larger pool to select from than you did, being the extra 10 years. But actually, my number 6 is not a Liverpool legend at all. He's not very popular at the club, but I cannot ignore the peak.
Don't say
I
what I think
cannot
you're
ignore
about to
how.
say.
Yeah, I am going to say because you're from that part of the world. Michael Owen is my number 6. Michael Owen, Ballon d'Or winner, and I would say to add some context to that, yeah, he won the Ballon d'Or at 21, 2001. Of course, he was my first childhood hero, by the way. Him and Stevie G kind of a tie. Stevie G obviously took that one as time went on, but
Yeah.
I would say Michael Owen was probably better a couple of years before he won the Ballon d'Or as well. So in terms of how good he was, Michael Owen, was he the best player in the world in 2001? Perhaps, perhaps not. But what I would say is I think for about 3 years, he was undeniably sort of top 3.
Mm,
And to be
okay.
that good, despite the fact he might not be as popular now with the fan base, and I understand the reasonings for that. I told you, I'm trying to do a blend of club legacy, but also how good people were. And Michael Owen was just, if I'm going to put Torres in, Michael Owen did more for Liverpool than Torres did, and was part of teams that won things, hence the fake
Mm.
treble and all of that in 2001. Terrific player, absolutely scary. He's in my list, mate. He's in
I'm
my
very
list. How do you
surprised by
feel
that,
about
to be
that?
honest, mate. I'm very surprised. Obviously, I haven't watched. Too young to watch Owen at Liverpool, but knowing, I wasn't too young enough to see him score and win titles at Old Trafford for Manchester United. Score winners. And was it in the Manchester Derby? I think he scores a late winner and wins him the title, basically, doesn't he? So yeah, I think we're definitely doing this list in different contexts. But our definitions of great are different because yeah, like you say, Owen, one of the best players you've seen, one of the best players during his period at the club, Ballon d'Or winner. But Liverpool great, and then going to Manchester United, I think that just gets wiped off in my opinion. But but yeah,
Yeah, no, I get it. Depends how you judge it. I think I'm putting players' peak and ability and stuff very probably higher than what you're scoring it. Number five for yourself, mate.
Number five, starting off the top five, and this is why I was talking about, with Mane in sixth. I think it was difficult to differentiate, especially five and six. I've got Roberto Firmino. I think I don't know if you'll have him in your list by the sounds of what you're saying. That you only have five players left. You don't have Firmino. You've left Firmino out completely. Wow, that is a controversial one, mate. Owen over Firmino, really?
Owen was better than Firmino, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not saying better, but in terms of greatness, Firmino comes in obviously under Rodgers, not
I
didn't
find it
really have
very
an impact.
difficult to leave out the last Liverpool player to win the Ballon d'Or. Is he the only Liverpool player to win the Ballon d'Or as well? Kevin
Most
Keegan won it
likely,
twice at Hamburg, so it really is tough. Michael Owen was depends again. How do you define greatness? Maybe I've done it as the best players. I don't know, but then Suarez would have been or Owen would have been potentially higher
yeah.
potentially. But yeah, that's how I've done it,
I
mate.
would just put all of our success, not all of it, but if you're thinking of one player, and I think if you asked Klopp himself, like what made that Liverpool team tick, the heartbeat of the Liverpool team, I think it's Roberto Firmino. The system completely falls apart without him. Mane doesn't thrive, Salah doesn't thrive. The fullbacks then aren't able to bomb on, are they? Like there's the pressing as well. I think Firmino had everything in my opinion. Probably underappreciated as well, and that's why I've just slightly got him ahead of Mane because I think he was the heartbeat of the team. But yeah, that is my top. Starting off the top five, mate. Fifth.
I get it on Firmino. He was the brain of the front three. Is dropping in and linking play allows the other things around him to. I totally get it. I totally get it. It's just there's a lot of good players that I've seen in the
Privileged.
26 years I'm choosing from. My number five probably won't surprise you is Luis Suarez. I feel like
Mm.
if I'm gonna think about the order of those three I've just mentioned there, Suarez, Owen, and Torres. Suarez was always going first place of those three. Um, I think Michael Owen, the fact I was giving it the old, well, Torres was the best striker in the world for 18 months. Well, Owen was probably for longer than that, or very close, maybe behind Brazilian Ronaldo. He won a Ballon d'Or, so I thought just edged that one with Owen, but it was a debate. But Suarez off the three. I think
Mm.
more what he did after, obviously, he went and got better for Barcelona, but for how good he was in that short period of time, arguably the greatest individual season in Premier League history. It might not be the best, but it's in the four or five, talking points that you'd bring to me. He'd be in it. He was absolutely unplayable. And Luis Suarez, I think, from what I've seen in terms of greatness at Liverpool, just about gets in the top five. Would be higher, but is scored lower than the others based on legacy, what he didn't win with the club, etc. So I've tried to account for that a little bit. But in terms of players I've seen play for the club, he's first or second, I think.
Really? Yeah, that's the
In
same for
terms of
me.
ability.
Yeah, no,
In
hundred
terms of
percent. I
ability.
think he's first for me.
No, absolutely. Who's your number four?
Number four is the most controversial one I have on this list, 1,000,000%. And I want to preface this by saying that like I said, I'm going from 2010. I'm going from what I've seen with my eyes. I'm going from 2010 onwards, not what happened. I'm not even considering what I know happened before that. So, in fourth, I've got Steven Gerrard.
Oh. Okay, I get it based on your reasonings because you missed his peak. Uh,
Yeah,
that's low. That's low. But then
it
I
is
suppose
low.
you're being
Like,
true to yourself. You're being true to yourself because you didn't see his peak, etc.
exactly. Exactly, yeah. And I think if you go, I can definitely make the argument for the three that I have above him during that, if you think of Gerrard's period between 2010, I think he still was one of the best midfielders in the world in 2010, 2011, 2012. It was only really that 13-14 season where he drops in, and becomes a different style of midfielder in my opinion. So I did see some good years of Gerrard, no doubt. But yeah, I'm not considering what I saw before with what came before, sorry, with the Champions League, knowing that he dragged us through so many years. Of course, if you're just going off what you hear, what I haven't seen, Gerrard's probably first on this list, just in terms of the name, the legacy that he's left. But yeah, I've got him in number four, mate. Controversially,
Wow, you'll be surprised to know he's not actually made my list yet.
Yeah.
He will.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. You didn't
He
surprise me.
will. Number 4, Sadio Mane for me. You already said him, haven't you, Sadio Mane?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, because you said
surprised
Firmino.
you've got Firmino way below Mane.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I think
Interesting.
Sadio Mane. If I could have a player back in this side now, part of me thinks Henderson. Just for the getting the best of everyone around him, etc. But
Mm.
we talk about lack of pace inside the slot side, lack of potency, different ways of scoring goals. He could score a header, he could score on his left, on his right, quick, could beat a player with a bit of skill, could run in behind off the ball. He could hurt you in different ways and could play in different positions. You forget he played on the left for Liverpool. As soon as Mo Salah didn't play, he actually preferred the right. He played on the right for Country, played on the right for Southampton, played on the right in the Barcelona game, played on the right in his first season, played
Mm.
centrally in his last season for Liverpool a lot. Absolutely terrific player. Again, to preface what I'm saying, of course, I think Luis Suarez was better than Mane, but we're talking a little bit of accountability for what they achieved at the football club, and I think Sadio Mane achieved the lot, a massive part of it, as was Firmino. I'm not disputing it. I think Firmino was
Yeah,
the brain linking it all together, of course, but I think in times where Mane played as the central striker and Firmino didn't play, I still thought it worked. I thought Mane was absolutely fantastic.
100%. No, I
Um,
completely
num-
agree with that, mate.
Number 3, mate, talk to me. Who have you got in at number 3?
Number three is where Jordan Henderson gets involved, mate. And again,
Wow.
I definitely want to preface it by saying I don't think Steven Gerrard is 100% a greater Liverpool player than Jordan Henderson. There's no disputing that. But from what I've seen, from if we're going 2010 to 2015 Gerrard, or what would it have been, 2013 Henderson, maybe 2013 to 2023, 10 years of service that I saw. Obviously, I don't think he was the greatest at the start. I think he was really integral in that 13-14 season, actually. I think he's probably the
Yeah.
only reason we didn't win the league. He got suspended in that City game that we win 3-2, didn't he? So, but then if you just ignore all that, ignore the back end of his Liverpool career, he captained that Jurgen Klopp side that was so successful, 97 points, 99 points, 92 points. Yeah, scoring some important goals, but most importantly, just being that leader on the pitch. Basically, it was like, I think Klopp's come out and said it as well. It's like having a manager on the pitch. You say it as well. Someone who would sort it out. Henderson wouldn't just stand for what's going on right now, how poor we are. He'd sort it out on the pitch. Yeah, mate. It looks weird when you write it down on paper. Jordan Henderson above Steven Gerrard, but I think the workings out sort of make sense.
I thought he was incredibly important, but number 3 is very ambitious for me. But Liam,
Jordan Henderson, mate,
your workings out,
incredible.
your workings out makes sense. Number 3 for me is, now these two kind of come as a pair, so I think you know who they're going to be. But I've gone with Virgil van Dijk, number 3. And the
Interesting.
reason that he's 3 as opposed to 2 is the other player, which you could probably work out who it is, has just it's the game winning moments, and that they kind of come as a pair. They've coexisted. They've won it all together. They're equally as important, in my opinion. I think not one is more important than the other. I think it's just the others had more match winning moments. Virgil van Dijk.
Mhm.
I talk about Alisson at the start. I talk about being the best player in your position worldwide for a long period of time, which I believe Alisson was for 3 seasons. I think he's probably the best goalkeeper in the world. I think for 6, 7 seasons, he's in the top 3. Virgil van Dijk probably takes it to another level again, where I think it was somewhat unanimous, barring injury, for probably 5 years that he was the best centre back in the world. He's
Yeah.
probably going to be remembered as the best centre back of his era, and he will be remembered in debates of the greatest of whether people have him in 7th or whether people have him in 1st is a debate to be had, but he will go into the debates of the greatest defenders in each era of football. Now, where people have him in there is debatable, but in this era now, I think it's pretty much undisputed that he's been the best defender for the past probably 8 years, barring injury. So Virgil van Dijk absolutely needs to be, and on a pound for pound basis, I think, can you say that about the next player on the list? You can, but is he the undisputed? Probably not. He's just in the bracket of 4 or 5, whereas
Mm.
Virgil van Dijk was the undisputed number 1. So on that basis, you could even put him above. I just think the next player more game-winning moments. Who have you got number 2, Liam?
Number two, mate, I've got this player that, and it's going to give away my number one as well by saying number two, but I've got the player that you are alluding to. I've got Mohamed Salah in 2, just missing out on the top spot. I think it's so close between what my top 2 is. Those 2 players that you are talking about there. I just find it so difficult because I almost want to do 1 and 2 together to put them against each other. But I'll get on to talk about him later on, who's in my number 1 place. But with Salah, I'll talk about the good moments first. Obviously, his time at Liverpool is coming to an end now, isn't it? But if you're talking about the greatest attacker, there's no doubt that I've ever seen. The greatest attacker at Liverpool is Mo Salah, 100%. Just the goals, the sheer, like, every single year, not a single drop off really. We've seen a bit of a drop off this season, but to perform at that world class level, for not even just world class level, but probably the best right winger in the world for a lot of those seasons as well. You talk about him, Van Dijk definitely being the best for probably 8 seasons in a row. There was probably at least 4 seasons where Salah was the best right winger in the world, maybe more. So yeah, I've got Salah in second, just missing out on first. I think it's very difficult with defenders, when you're putting, and that's why I have Allison in quite low as well. Defenders and goalkeepers versus attackers, you're always gonna remember the goals, the iconic moments, aren't you? But I do think I want to give the flowers to who is in my number 1 position, who I will get on to talk about soon. But yeah, who have you got in number 2, mate?
Same player, but obviously a different
Oh,
workings out in
Salah, of
terms of.
course, yeah.
Yeah, same player, Mo Salah, number 2 for me. Obviously, in terms of, I've got that in the reverse order. I know your number 1 is, you've just revealed your hand. He was number 3 for me.
Of
But
course.
Mo Salah, I just think in terms of, it's undeniable at this point, all the records. He broke just about every record within my lifetime in terms of goals for Liverpool in the Premier League, Champions League. He's overtaken, in Europe for Steven Gerrard. All of these things, I think he's been absolutely incredible. And absolutely rightly so, is well up there and could have even been first. He really could have done, but obviously you probably know who my first place is. Go on then, Liam, put us out of our misery. Number 1 is.
Number 1 is, of course, Virgil van Dijk, mate. I think it's so difficult, like I say, to measure a defender's impact on the team when it's so clear that Salah, for example, when he's scoring these winners basically every single week for 9 years straight, it's easy to say, right, Salah will go down as a bigger legend, a greater Liverpool player than Van Dijk. But I think a good way to measure it is probably if you take one out the side with the other still in there, which one would have the bigger impact on the team? Do you know what I mean? So if you took out Salah, for example, would we be better off taking out Salah than being without Van Dijk? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, for
I
example,
do.
if we had, let's use Arsenal as an example. If we had Saka on our right wing for the last 8 years, this version of Saka that we currently have, but then we've still got Van Dijk in the team. It's the team that we're seeing now, the team that we have seen. But then if we've got Salah on the right wing with the team, but with Gabriel at left centre back, who are we missing more? In my opinion, we're probably missing Van Dijk more. I don't know what you think on that. I just think he's so incredible. He's definitely the best defender that I've ever seen. An absolute Rolls Royce. He can do everything. Defensive side of his game doesn't need to be questioned at all. But I think people underrate the on the ball side. He hasn't done it as much at Liverpool. Obviously, we see those diags to Salah pretty much every game, but his ball carrying ability, he showed it at Celtic, showed it at Southampton. I think he will go down as definitely one of the. I think time will be very, very good to Van Dijk. It will. People will look back on Van Dijk in 10 years' time and go, actually, he probably was in the best centre back of all time conversations.
Your workings out make sense, and in terms of which one I'd pick, I think back in the Liverpool side under Klopp, Mane's still likely to get you a goal. Firmino
Yeah,
might pop up with a
exactly.
goal. Whereas Van Dijk being injured, I know there were more injuries than that in that season where he did have it, but the season kind of fell apart. So I do take your point on it, but I've still got Salah just above him, just on moments, really. I'm rewarding the
Yeah.
moments. Number 1 for me, you will not be surprised to know, my childhood hero, the best player I've seen play for Liverpool, is Steven Gerrard. Now, in terms of most talented, I think Suarez might be just ahead of Gerrard. I'm not sure, but Gerrard was consistently in the elite for a decade. Carried Liverpool Football Club on his back, and I think when you sit and reflect and talk about, let's just chuck some names out there: Xavi, Pirlo, Iniesta, all of these names, Cruz, Modric, whoever you want to put in it. There's
Mm.
more than that. Zidane, he's in amongst it. He is well in amongst it, and that's not So was Scholes, so was Lampard. You know, they all are the absolute, the elite of the elite, the best of the best. And Steven Gerrard is the best player I've seen play for Liverpool. So that therefore he's my number one. And I think given that he gave his whole club the club legacy of the guy as well, it just makes sense. So that is,
100%.
and that concludes our top 10 each. Before I round it up, some players that we've missed out. I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I've missed Jamie Carragher was kind of my second childhood hero. Could have easily been in here on club legacy, but I think the players that I've put in have either been more important to their side in Henderson with winning big trophies. I mean,
Yeah.
Carragher was equally important to his side, to be fair, but the team's won more. I had to get Jordan Henderson in. And then there's more talented players. You like Suarez, Owen, Torres above Carragher. Trent Alexander-Arnold I've mentioned on that one. Of course, he's got more talent than Robertson, but Robertson's a left-back's left-back, so you're not made mine. Xabi Alonso could have been in it. I think Xabi Alonso was a good shout for myself, talent-wise, but
Firmino.
I think what he did... Well, Firmino, again, is written down and would have been very, very close. There's a massive argument. I could come back tomorrow and he could easily be in it. I don't
Yeah.
think he'd quite get into my top 8, but he might come 9th, he might come 10th. Pepe Reina was a
Interesting.
good goalkeeper, was never going to get in the top 10, but was a really good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Fabinho was world class, probably the best in his position for 18 months, but didn't do it for long enough, so didn't quite make the list. Who are you missing out on yours, mate? Any honourable mentions?
Torres, I haven't mentioned. Obviously, I didn't mention Owen that you said, but Owen wasn't even a consideration for me. Obviously, not having seen him anyway. But even if I had seen him, I don't think I would be having him in there. We both
Time
missed
period as well.
Coutinho. We both missed Coutinho. I think he will never go down as one of like this Liverpool legend. Firstly, because of the way he left. Secondly, because he doesn't have the trophies to his name. He played in some poor Liverpool teams, but I think he was really good in that 13-14 season. And then probably after Suarez left, between that 14-15 to probably 17-18 in that January where he left, he was probably our best player for the throughout that whole time. He put the club on his back. I think he bridged the gap between that 13-14 season all the way to our success that began in 18-19. I think he was a big reason for that. So I've definitely missed him out. Wijnaldum as well. You're also missing out, obviously, players that won the league last season. They're never going to make it into this list. But in the future, the likes of Dominic Szoboszlai, I'm sure will be sat here in 5 years' time if he does stay at the club, and we'll be having conversations about him. So, yeah, that's it from me, mate. I don't think there's anyone else jumping out to me.
No, great stuff. Liam, enjoyed it as always. If you're not following Liam's channel, make sure you do. Click the links below and go and check out his content. Thanks for joining me, mate. Take care and speak soon.
Nice one. See you later, mate.